Hey, well, hi everyone. My name is Kathryn. I am a developer here at Configura. I've been here for 3 years and I love it quite a lot, and I've done a lot with 2 or 3 different schemes systems, and I am pretty excited to show this new tool to you guys. Let me share this with you. Hi, Stephen. Let's see. All right. Can everyone successfully see this? I think so.
Yes, I think so.
Okay. All right, so this session, we will be going over the Scheme Builder tool, which is a part of Catalog Creator. And this came out, I think, with patch 3. And it works with 11.0 and 11.5. And we'll be going over how to use this tool. I'm going to slightly touch on adding PGC properties to the schemes that this makes. That means scheme properties that aren't driven by catalog data, but we're only going to be touching on that because this tool or this session is mostly focused on using the tool itself, and that doesn't create PGC properties. But I will touch a little bit on that. We have a couple other webinars and presentations that will go into that a lot more. One of them was a recent webinar on these schemes itself, which we have recorded and will be available. And when we make these materials available, I will make sure to add a link in this presentation to it. This session will be about 1 hour, and it is for both catalog creators and regular developers. It's not really for users because this isn't making schemes that are like it's completely specified out, like I would like oak here and laminate here and whatever. This is for creating the design of schemes. For everyone going into this, it is best if you have some prerequisite knowledge on the most recent version of prop schemes, which was released a few years ago and received some updates with patch 3 and with 11.5. And it's also good to have at least a superficial understanding of data catalogs and how they work. Just to quickly go over schemes, basically. A scheme is a method of applying a bunch of options to a collection of symbols. It does this by doing by pushing properties from the scheme's data to the objects that you're applying to. All scheme choices are stored as key and value pairs, and any common prop defs that both the scheme data and the object have will get a put call to them with the corresponding scheme data. And then those objects, if they can accept those new choices, then they get set to those new choices. This tool lets any user of Catalog Creator, so that'd be developers and catalog developers, put together a scheme design. Technically, it's more of a scheme factory, but we'll touch more on that in the part of the presentation that looks more at the code. If you're just a catalog developer, you don't need to know much about that. This is so that scheme design means like what properties you want in your scheme, what order you want them in. Do you want tabs in your scheme? What do you want the official image to be, like the symbol that represents it, that sort of thing. This tool outputs a PS layout file. This is not a scheme file, but we will talk, for all intents and purposes, if you're just a catalog developer, it is basically a scheme. But if you're dealing with the code, I'll talk about the differences later on. And the class that it'll be making is a PS layout prop scheme. So the PS layout file will be generating one of those, and I'll be going over that also. This feature, everything in this feature is released, and all of it came out in patch 3. Okay, so what is this problem solving? So before this scheme builder tool, the only way to get a scheme system up and running was by writing a lot of code. Additionally, prop schemes didn't work with or apply to pure catalog symbols out of the box, and you have to write all that functionality yourself. This is not ideal for a lot of developers and catalog creators, because catalog creators have little to no control over the scheme, and devs then have to write a lot of code to tie their scheme systems to the catalog backend. So this tool is introduced with the invention of making the process of creating data-driven schemes as simple as possible and as accessible as possible. This is not making a schema or a scheme. It's making a PS layout, which is a new class that came out with this update and is the file that this tool creates. The prop scheme system uses that layout file to create a schema. And we'll talk more about this in a few minutes. So who uses this tool? Catalog creators or developers. Basically, whoever knows what needs to be in the scheme and understands all the features that they want the scheme to use and what types of symbols they want this to apply to. What types of extensions will this work with? This will work with both pure catalog extensions and extensions that are PGC but have a catalog-driven backend. For pure catalog extensions, this layout file will need to be embedded in the library via the component tab creator, or a developer can just embed it in the extension just like they do with any other prop scheme. For catalog-based PGC extensions, developers will need to basically add it with a couple lines of code. It's very simple, but it gets a little bit more complex if you want to customize how your scheme applies, or if you want to add custom PGC properties that aren't catalog-based. And I will go over those also. So the scheme editor itself, let's take a look at that. So basically let's see. This is Data Fika. And this is a version of Fika that's entirely based on catalogs. It's currently in 11.5 major, and anyone can go switch to that branch and take a look at it there. So if we go to Catalog Creator, so basically you open up your project, your catalog project here, and make sure these are all set properly. I wonder if I can shrink this a bit more. I can't. Okay. What if no, that doesn't work. Make sure all of your resource directories are set to the correct ones. I have the symbols set to a parent portfolio here, so that sometimes if your symbols don't show up in your geometry tab or in the scheme tab, then it'll be because the symbols are in a parent portfolio, so that's usually the only exception. This is the catalog project for Data Fika. I opened that up, and there's a new tab right here called Scheme. And actually, let's see. I might switch to a different screen. That'll show the whole window better. Okay, I'm going to share a different screen. If I can find my mouse. All right. Are you guys seeing this catalog creator right here?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So let me just set this to a new one. So this is what an empty scheme design looks like. You can give it a name. So I could call this whatever, basically whatever I want. And this key is a it has to be unique. This key is how the Scheme Explorer, which is also a relatively new tool, which is discussed a lot more in the other scheme presentation for this conference. But the Scheme Explorer holds all the different scheme designs, and then a user can go and flip between them all. Let's see. And the Scheme Explorer is what gets brought up when you click this right here. So when you're going between all the schemes, you can go to different ones and they're all sorted. This key is for registering your scheme design with that Explorer. And so if you don't make it unique enough, basically it'll recency wins. So make sure that when you name or when you give your scheme design a key, make sure it is unique enough where it doesn't overwrite any other schemes. Whatever one registers with that key most recently will be the one that Schemes Explorer will use. This is the grouping. That is for basically grouping them all up. If you saw in the Scheme Explorer here, these three schemes are all grouped together. And you can like sort them by maybe extension or type of product, however you choose to do that. Then you can choose your image here, and it's basically an image to represent what your scheme does or what types of products it applies to. This is for removing your scheme design, creating a new one. This makes your scheme design active. If this is toggled off, then it's not going to show up in the Schemes Explorer and users cannot use it. So here's where you start off. These are the tabs that'll show up. So I'm going to name this one surfaces, and then maybe I'll make another one, and this one will be for panels. And I can add all the tabs I want. And those are these tabs over here, and basically ways to organize all of your scheme properties. Then I can choose a tab, and maybe I want to add sections. I want to add a section for all different materials and how those materials apply. And then I could add another section for accessories and how I want them to apply or whatever. So I made a material section here, and then I need to find some properties for this. So these are all the group codes in the catalog that's currently open. Let's say I want to go to left with that group code. All the features that have that group code assigned to them will be here, and I can choose one and I just drag it in over there. Now the property is visible. These are rules. I will show you those in a second. You can add multiple properties here and then rearrange them with these sliding bars here. I can rearrange sections with those sliding bars, and then I can just remove properties with that X there. One question that I know I had when I first saw this tool was, what if you have, let's say, something like this? So I have 5 features that have this group code. What if they have different domains, but they have the same group code? Currently in development, we have a feature going to be added to this that'll let you create, basically pull out a common domain or an intersection of all these different domains, and then you'll be able to add that to here. We don't have it yet, but we are working on it. And then, so for each tab, I can add a preview product. That's what this products tab over here is for. Say I want this pedestal, I can click and drag it over here, and then I can test out my properties right away on this to see how it's going to apply and make sure it does apply. Once I have basically put together my design, I can use this preview to see exactly how it's going to look in the schemes dialog. I got the name, Scheme Explorer, all the different tabs here. Here's my preview product, and I can try it out. This is fully functional, and it'll apply to anything that's in the drawing, and I can mess around and see what it's like. These enable and disable. One of the things that is added, but is not in my branch that I'm currently on with DataFika, is the ability to hide subproperties for each of these. So if I had this property and there are 4 or 5 subproperties, and I only want to see the top one, I can hide all of the other ones. That is covered in a lot more detail in the presentation, which will be made available, called Migrating to PS Layout Schemes. Where did my mouse go? Oh, there we go. Okay. Should be back to the PowerPoint there. Okay, don't need, well, I'll leave this up for a second. Okay. If you want to preview your scheme in another way, if you already have a scheme button in your extension, you can go and click on there, and as long as your scheme layout is registered, then you can also test out your scheme there. Okay, so finishing up your layout. With testing, of course, you can use the preview button, and you can literally just try it on your extension right then and there as you're developing it. Saving is a little bit more complex. If I were to do file save up in the corner up there, this save is working on the entire catalog project as a whole. So if you have changes you're not ready to be saved over in features or materials, don't use this save here. This is saving the entire catalog project that's open. If you would just like to save this scheme design right here, this layout, we have import and export over here. These just export a PS layout file and basically work like save as in any other program. You can save your PS layout wherever you want. A note, if you save your PS layout somewhere else that is not in the same directory as this catalog project, then it will not know what features and products it's referencing, so it won't be able to actually work. It's good if you want to just send files back and forth without having to send the entire project, but make sure if you are trying to actually save just this, that you're saving it in the right location so it knows what products and features and things it's referencing. So once you have created it, you'll need to get it published and then distributed. A catalog dev can basically publishes it with the catalog in the same way they publish models and materials and the rest of the catalog. It just gets uploaded as another file that then gets downloaded by users when they download that catalog. To get it embedded or get it usable in an extension, if you're working with pure catalog symbols or pure catalog extension and you built that up with the component tab creator, then you can add the scheme button in the component tab creator. That's very clearly available there. And then if you are doing a PGC based catalog extension, then you can, once it's saved and it's pulled down, a developer on that extension basically extends the class the schemes class and then embeds it like any other scheme, any other prop scheme. You just have to tell it there's a PS layout. Well, actually, I'll go over that in the code. But the devs will have to add about 2 or 3 lines of code in order to make the scheme referenced and that the scheme button is pointing to the right one. And I'll go over that more specifically in a minute when we're going over a lot more of the code aspects of this. Okay. So in the code, let me pull up Emacs here. Okay, so basically from now to the end of this presentation, I'm going to be going over a lot more of the code side of this tool and what a developer will need to use to do to make it completely usable. Anyone else can still stay on. I can do questions now or later. Both are fine.
Why don't we take a quick break just for those who might want to take off? There is one question that's been put in.
Sure.
Question is, should the PS layout file be in the same portfolio as the DB3 or can it be in the parent portfolio?
I don't actually know. I've only done it and tested it when it's in the child portfolio. It had all these symbols defined in the parent portfolio. I don't know, but I will find out and then I'll add it in the notes for this presentation, and when they get published, I'll have the answer in there. I'll write that down now.
Have another question. If you have a group code that contains 5 features with the exact same domain values, is there a way to make a single scheme option populate the value of all 5 of those features?
Repeat that?
So if you have a group code that contains 5 different features with the exact same domains, is there a way to
Sure.
make a single scheme option that populates all 5 of those features?
When you add, you can just drag in one of those features, and because it's that these all get applied via group codes, it'll apply to all 5 of those. Or are you saying you would like it to only apply to one of those features and not the others, despite having the same group code?
I tell you what.
You can, okay, let me bring up the Fika example here. So this is a layout that we put together for Data Fika. It has the key here, we have sections, it applies to all of the Data Fika products. Here you can see you can hide some features if you'd like, and these all have rules. I just realized I forgot to go over those. So basically you can bring up rules here and you can say, when I'm applying this, choose one of these. I want the product catalog code to not equal, and I fill this in myself. And you can add as many rules as you want to any of these properties, and then all of those will be respected by the schemes application. Any devs don't have to do any other work to make these apply. So you can take each of these and you can customize them as much as you want with these rules here.
He did chat in and explain that you did answer his question. He was basically looking for it to apply like as a group code, so applying to all features for the same group code, which is what it does. So
yeah, default. There is some code written to have it apply to features instead, to apply through feature codes instead of group codes, but it is not complete yet because it's so infrequently used. So currently all of the behavior default applies through group codes.
Real quick, can you make me host? Apparently, when I made you host, I lost the ability to unmute people.
I've never made someone else a host, so let me figure this out.
In the participant list, you can just right-click on me and make me a host. Or maybe it's that more menu.
Okay, I think it's successfully transferred.
Yes, terrific. Thank you. That is all the questions we have. Oh, wait, a new one came in. What happens if the group code is changed in the catalog? Will the scheme automatically update to reflect the change?
So data migration. I will be talking about that in probably like 5 or 10 minutes. That was one of the important things I wanted to cover when going over this tool. Yes, that is important. So I will be going over that.
Okay, I'll leave this question here. Just decide whether or not we want to answer it at the end.
Sure.
But I think we're set. So if you want to continue, go right ahead.
Sure. Okay. I don't think you need to transfer host back to me. Okay. Is it back at the PowerPoint? It should be. Okay. So how does the scheme get built from this PS layout file? So prop schemes, the current configure version of schemes works based off of child factories. And this layout file basically directs the prop scheme system how to create child factories itself and then use those to construct a prop scheme. The scheme class asks the layout file, says, hey, add all of my child factories. And then the scheme layout propagates that call to each of the tabs, which I showed. So that would be like surfaces or panels or accessories. Each layout tab creates a props scheme card. And then that propagates that build, add child factories out to each of its sections. So that's like the material section that I created. The section creates those cards and propagates the call to the entries, and then the entries create PS layout entries, a class defined in the PS layout, well, basically in the prop scheme layout folder, and then it knows how to create factories for each of its entries. And that is what this code is showing right here. Should I? Okay. So for PGC scheme properties, this is, say you want to add properties to your scheme that are not driven by data. You can do this. There is a method in the schemes class that you override called customize layout. This is in the PS layout prop scheme class, which is in the layout folder subfolder of prop scheme, and it's a subclass of prop scheme. Whenever you add whenever a developer wants to add a layout based scheme to their extension, you have to extend this and then just override load scheme layout in order to tell it which layout you want loaded. You can have multiple layouts, so that's why you need to do this in order to tell it which layout you want. For example, the Fika one here, all it does is extend PS layout prop scheme, and it says I want to load this layout. It does this by taking your test data, and then it goes and finds the layout that is associated with that data. That is explained in a lot more detail in the Migrating to Data-Driven Prop Schemes webinar, which we do have published. So this layout prop scheme. If I want to add PGC properties, I go to Customize Layout. That's going to call Add Custom Sections and Add Custom Entries. Add Custom Sections is if I want to add entire sections. So those are not the tabs, but the different sections over on the right. And this is for if I want to add an entire section of just PGC properties. Right here. So it goes and you can create your own custom sections. And in each of your sections, you will have to add your own custom entries. Or you can simply go to add custom entries. And then once, okay. So then in here, in add custom entries, you are going to have to go through each section. And once it goes through every section in your schema. And then once it gets to, maybe you can add like a check here, and whenever it reaches the section that you want to add your custom property to, then you add your custom property entry here. And basically you'll have to create the property factory and everything for that, but that's no different than prop schemes has been for the past couple of years. But something else to note, I can find it. Entry order. All of the properties in this layout, they will apply in the order that you added, in the order that they are displayed in the scheme. So it's going to go the first tab and then the first section and then straight down the row there. If your properties shouldn't apply in that order because based on your data it'll overwrite other options, or it's more important to choose one property before another, but it doesn't make logical sense to show it that way to the users, then you can change the order that they get pushed or the order the factories get created in through these two methods right here. And that has to be done in the subclass that you will make of PS Layout Prop Scheme. I am not going to go deep code-wise into adding a custom section since this webinar, this presentation is basically on the tool itself that is in Catalogue Creator, but it is gone into detail with a lot of examples in I don't know if it's in the making the most of prop schemes presentation, but it definitely is in the migrating to data-driven prop schemes presentation. One last note, if you decide you're going to override add custom entries or add custom sections, make sure to call super, because super does a lot of important stuff. It's not just only for your custom stuff. It also it goes through and adds everything itself. The behavior is in super, so don't forget to call that. Oh, okay. So what other options are there for making schemes? Maybe not, this one isn't necessarily better or worse, but there are some other options. The only other way to make a props scheme is to have your devs write it up in the extension, which it can be time consuming, and your catalog developers don't really have control over it. So that's what this tool is basically directed at. So if you don't need either of those, you can just write regular prop schemes. So if you're not using this scheme system, you'll have to subclass prop scheme and add factories manually in code via add child factories, and then write all of your own factories and create your scheme that way. You can have multiple scheme layouts. You just have to make sure that when you subclass the prop scheme class, or the layout prop scheme class, that you tell it, you make sure it grabs the right layout file to pull from. But you can have multiple scheme layouts per DB3. Apparently I didn't add a bullet for it, but basically data migration. Currently, migration of scheme data for prop schemes made with this scheme builder can basically be done by overriding the scheme's constructor and doing any remapping there. And that's basically for reordering and changing like your properties in the layout and in your well, I lost my words. In your layout and your scheme. It's not for scheme data, like a saved instance of a scheme, I don't think. We currently I think we're currently looking at figuring out a way to do that based in catalogs, but I don't know for sure. I did not. I would have to double check. But if you override the scheme's constructor and do the remapping there after the layout is loaded, that's currently the easiest way to do this. We are currently investigating better interfaces for doing that for layouts, but for now that is the easiest way to do so. But we are actively looking into a better interface for that. Okay. So DataFika has made complete use of this new tool, and anyone can go and look at it if you would like. It is currently in 11.5 major, which I'll show you here. So in 11.5, we're migrating to new branch naming structure. These are 3 of the most major branches for version 11.5, and DataFika is currently in this major branch right here. At least at the time of this presentation. It'll soon be moving to 11.5 official once 11.5 goes out in November. DataFika will not be available to users specifically until 12.0, but it will be available to all devs in 11.5. Let me make sure I didn't forget anything here. I don't think so. Okay, that is everything I have on this new tool. So do we have any questions?
There are a couple of questions in here.
Sure.
One going back to the question we already brought up. If a group code is changed in the catalog, will the scheme automatically update to reflect the change?
Oh, okay. So it'll update in the layout, but the schemes that were made with it will not. And any remapping of when you're importing those will have to be done, like I said, in the scheme's constructor.
If that doesn't answer your question, go ahead and either add to your question or fill it out more in the chat. And we'll come back
I will
to
also, I just wrote down to make sure that I'll write out that in more detail and I'll add it to the slides here. So when we publish these as well as the recording of this, then it'll be there as a reference. And I'll add a link to an example also.
Another question, what if you have multiple PS layout files in the same catalog?
You can have many. Like I said, you'll just need to make sure that when you create your scheme, well, a prop scheme can only pull from one layout file, so you'll have to subclass PS layout prop scheme multiple times for each, and then make sure it grabs the right one when you're creating it. And that was in that this method right here, load scheme layout.
Another question, if you have an existing PGC-based scheme code, but it relies on catalog features only, can we hack into the PS layout export routine to generate a catalog-based scheme from our code?
When you say PGC based, but say it relies on catalog features, those are mutually exclusive. What do you mean?
I'll give him a second to respond to that. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
It doesn't point to any non-catalog props. So
Okay, so it's entirely data based.
sounds like it.
Okay. Does it all of this functionality currently is based on the props scheme system. Does your scheme system use the current version of prop schemes? Then I don't know. I have not tried. I would have to know more about your scheme system, and you can also just look at the code that export does. You can go and look at everything in the layout subpackage of basically all the code is available here for the whole tool, and you can see exactly what it does. I think it highly depends on your scheme system and how you build it up and what exactly the code is doing when it exports here.
Another question, is there any extensive documentation on this feature? Diagrams, UML, advanced descriptions, the APIs, etc.
We do have, it's fully documented in how to use it in the wiki. I'm not sure how you didn't find it, but it might be named something unintuitive. I do have links to all of it in the notes of this presentation. I probably should have added them in a full slide, but I will make sure to add them. It is all there. I can pull up the page right now if you'd like. Let's see. Okay, so this is documented fully in both the old and the new wiki, but I don't know if the new wiki's pages are publicly available yet. I can see them, but I'm a configure developer, so I will verify that and make sure that they are publicly available, and then I will include links to both in the wiki. Or I'll include links to both in the details in the notes of this presentation. I'll add a slide at the end with clickable links and stuff, and then anyone can go and look at this presentation afterwards and go and find them that way if you'd like.
I'm chatting with our developer support. They're in charge of this new these new help articles that we've been working on. They're not released yet, so it's kind of a question of like what we can link to and what we can't. However, it sounds like if we can come up with a link to that page you're describing, even that new help article, it should be fine. Everyone should be able to get to it.
Okay. Yeah, I will verify that after this. And either way, it is also definitely available in the old wiki. So.
Okay, I lost my questions. Okay, suppose you already have a catalog scheme mapped to a bunch of features and you add a new feature to this catalog with the same group code. Will that scheme just work with this new feature or do I need to edit, refresh it?
It will work because it basically applies, all of the scheme data applies through group codes. So as long as it has the same group code, you could add as many features with the same group code as long as it has a matching option. So if your feature has the same group code, but none of the options match the options that are in the scheme property that you put in the scheme design, then it'll try to apply them and it won't find a matching option. So it'll just fail to apply.
Okay. If you're going to automatically migrate catalog data, when will that be available?
I don't know. I am not, yeah, I don't work in that part of the company, so I would have to talk to them, and then they're also, we don't do hard deadlines on that sort of thing in case something came up. So it would be once we do have, so if we successfully write something and then we are officially going to release it, then we will let everybody know. At the moment, I personally don't know.
What I think we can tell you is that will be part of something that we've been referring to internally as a phase 3 for these catalog change we've been making. Phase 3 is essentially now that we have the updates to prop schemes out and updates to the catalog integration out, we're kind of waiting for a bit of feedback from developers who are implementing this and working with it. Changes they'd like to see made or fixes, including things like this data migration. So we're waiting a little bit just to get some feedback, but then we should start up that phase 3 pretty soon.
I've already sent in 3 feature requests for it, and they are looking at doing them. So definitely send in feature requests if you start using this and you find something you want.
And I think that's all the questions sent in so far. So we are actually almost at our wrap-up time anyway. I think what we'll do, me and Kathryn will stick around for a few minutes just in case anyone thinks of another question or two. But otherwise, I just want to thank everyone for attending. Oops, I gotta do this the right way. I want to thank everyone for attending. I really appreciate your attention. If you do think of any questions, by all means, bring them up to us. But otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you enjoy the rest of the experience. Look forward to seeing you around. Ooh, had an important question come in. How's the cat?
Which one? Both of my cats are doing splendidly. I love them, and they're fuzzy, and they are, since we're all working from home, they are very good at helping. They like to type things by laying on the keyboard. They're not very good at coding though, but they try.
Okay, not seeing any new questions coming in, so I think we'll go ahead and shut down the webinar for this breakout session. Once again, thanks everyone. Enjoy the rest of the experience.
Thanks, guys.